I'm now going to give you a quick introduction to Qlik Compose for data warehouses. In the interest of time, I've already built a project on top of the sales database we replicated in our first demonstration. A data warehousing project in Compose involves several high-level steps, which I will step through now. First, you can see that we have set up a project to build an enterprise data warehouse in Snowflake. A project can connect to one or more source systems. In this case, we're using the sales database that we just landed into Snowflake using Qlik Replicate. In the modeling step, we can use Qlik Compose to detect entities and relationships automatically, or we can import this information manually. Here, we can see the source entities and relationships that were detected by Qlik Compose. We can also generate date and time entities, which are usually essential for analyzing transactional data. One common source of complexity in data warehousing is type 2 slowly changing dimensions. With Qlik Compose, we can easily apply data vault methodology using satellite and hub tables. For each of our tables, we can identify attributes where we need to store history and mark them as type 2 dimensions. This will automatically allocate them to a satellite table. We can also group multiple attributes to be managed in the same satellite table. For example, for the customer table here, I could store history for contacts in one satellite table and the addresses in another one. If you look at the physical model, we can see that this creates a hub table for type 1 dimensions and two satellite tables for contacts and addresses respectively. At the end of this modeling, Qlik Compose generates the DDL scripts for Snowflake without having to write any manual code. Here you can see the automatically generated scripts for our data warehouse using the Snowflake SQL syntax. These scripts can be executed through Compose to physically create the data warehouse, or just generated and then customized to fit your needs. Switching to Snowflake, we can see that these scripts have been run and our data warehouse tables have been created in Snowflake under our EDW schema. Next, we set up the instruction sets for loading data into our Snowflake data warehouse. You can see that we have created mappings for each of our target tables. Qlik Compose generates the default mappings, which we can then enhance based on the requirements. For example, you can see in the mappings for order details, I have set up two new fields. Line item amount is calculated using other fields in this table, while expected units in stock is a lookup from the product table, which is also in our model. We can also set up data quality and validation rules. In this case, I have a rule that will flag records that exceed a certain discount threshold. These rules will set up our error mart logic. Once the mappings are set up, we can generate the instruction sets. I've already performed this task and can show you the ETL generated by Qlik Compose. Our data warehouse requires 576 instructions, each of which is a direct saving of time and effort in setting up this data warehouse. For example, you can see the SQL behind this one instruction for populating our error mart. This statement applies the data quality check on discounts that I was showing you earlier. Up to this point, I was showing you a project that I prepared beforehand, but now I'll create a new data mart on top of a warehouse in front of you. Qlik Compose supports transactional, aggregated, and state-oriented data marts. In this case, we'll create a transactional data mart for our sales data. We start by selecting the fact table for our star schema. Next, we select dimension tables. I remove the order tables from the model, but retain customers and shippers as my dimensions. For products, you can see that we just have one table in our star schema. The suppliers and categories will be automatically flattened by Qlik Compose into this table. Finally, we select order date as the transaction date. This will be the key date used for type 2 slowly changing dimensions. At this point, our star schema has been defined in Compose. We can go ahead and define new measures or edit our dimensions. Once we're done, we can directly create this data mart in Snowflake using the Create Tables button here. We then generate the ETL commands. You can see that these instructions are not trivial and would take significant development time if approached the traditional way. Now I can trigger the task to populate this data mart. Just to close the loop, we can see the data mart tables are now available in Snowflake. Finally, let me just point out that between Qlik Replicate and Compose, we have set up an end-to-end data pipeline that streams data from our source system to Snowflake, then automatically updates the data warehouse and populates our analytics-ready data mart. It has never been easier to make a move to a best-in-class modern data warehouse while avoiding the cost and complexities of traditional data warehousing projects.